I will give you an introduction to our locations when it comes to the design, a high. Hi everyone. My name is Kaan Chakut. I'm the lead level designer for the PU. I will give you an introduction to our locations when it comes to the design, a high level overview of the design of our locations. I'm going to describe you the processes of our workflow and the goals that we aim to achieve. So, to break down our process a bit, this is very high level, but it starts out with a pre-production phase, an ideation phase. Here everything starts out in the mind. We bring it down to paper, sketch, write, formulate a plan based on our overall design goals. And then it moves on to the blocking stage. You might have heard of this, like the white box and gray box phase. This essentially contains all of the gameplay that you would see in the final product. Basically, the way it's meant to be played, and we test this out with a lot of iteration and a lot of testing. And it's basically, the white box is not in a stage where it's presentable, but that comes now. So on the right, as you see, the food court that Adam is going to be showing you later. This is the final product, VFX, lighting, everybody had their pass on this. And level design or other designers still maintains the space and makes sure that the systems that get created are being retroactively implemented. All right, so one key aspect of game development in general is the balance of narrative, visuals, and gameplay. So all these interplay, they interconnect, and it's the foundation that runs through all game environments. So it's important to communicate context, and here in this draw-over you see that narratively we see sort of a dangerous environment. The spiky shapes here are sort of threatening. We see defensive structures, we can expect some enemy NPCs here, but it's also an old village. Maybe there's some exploration, some loot to be found. And then what's also important is communicating goals. So goals can be the pathways that you take, the gateways that bring you from one step to another, and so on. Whoops. Yep, there we go. Okay, since we're a sandbox game, accommodating play styles is pretty important. So play styles meaning going guns in blazing, shooting at everything and everybody, going more of a stealthy, infiltration-y pathway if you wanted to, but also all the social aspects that you know from Stanton. And to do this, we establish, so one of the core design philosophies is granting the player the freedom of choice to do what they want to do at any point throughout their experience. And we do this by establishing or defining multiple pathways or archetypes that we call primary, secondary, and tertiary pathing. So the first one is pretty straightforward. In a social setting, you have the goal right in front of you, and it's a single goal, such as here in the Habs. In a combat setting, this is very exposed, so it's dangerous to traverse this route. Where it gets more complex is when you have such as with this outpost here, when you have multiple goals that can be equally important to the player at any given point. This is where we need to have a bit more design put into it with, for example, the landmarks that serve as orientation points. So to help you orientate yourself wherever you are in this location. And leading you to these locations by utilizing shape language and composition. The second path is, these are secondary pathways, so these are alternative routes. And these are options that are offered to you as you traverse the area on the primary path, for example. And so you may know this as a tourist when you go to a new city and you look around the corner and you see an alleyway that sort of looks nice and it evokes your curiosity and you want to investigate. In a combat setting, these are covered approaches or opportunities for you to flank the enemy to get to your goal, which could be this building on that sketch. Yeah. Versus more open spaces, when you have, in a combat setting, in open spaces, you tend to be a bit more stationary because you want to feel more secure, unless you're in a vehicle. The third path is tertiary pathing. So these are more hidden infiltration routes, especially discoverable throughout the rundown stations that Anna will be presenting later on. And these are mostly discoverable to the attentive eye. You can explore these, find loot, or different routes to traverse through the station. Environment interactivity. You might have seen this in a previous presentation. It's very important to ground the player to their environment, offering them ways of interaction, being able to change the state of rooms to toy with the AI, or just simply being able to unblock your pathway. What gets a bit more complex is when you talk about resource network systems, such as in day one when Torsten mentioned that we're planning to implement this as well in locations. And this will allow the player to engage with their environment in different ways. They will be able to power up or down entities such as turrets, gates, and doors, and also alter life support systems. And also this ties into security systems. So being able to power up or down certain sections of a security system. And security systems in turn will be dependent on security tokens that you will be able to grab from other NPCs in your environment to then gain access to other terminals, to security terminals or other areas. Reputation is a big topic for us, especially with Pyro. So reputation, what does it mean? It means that it's basically your standing, your relationship with factions, and factions are the UEE in Stanton, or outlaw gangs, especially now in Pyro. And this will define your play style within this environment. So it will define how you experience the location that you're in a more social context or in a more combative context. So we talk about reputation gates as well, especially in the later presentations. So in the case of the food court, in the rundown station, we have multiple floors. So the first floor is the gang floor, and that might require you to have a better relationship with the owner of this location, which then will give you unique mission givers that you can go to and accept a mission that are offering you missions themed after the faction or the owner of this location, but also give you access to unique gear, collectibles, ship weapons, and items. You might have seen these locations in the demo if you've played it. So to close this all off and move on to the other presentations, the glue behind all of our locations is the content. It is the reason why you go to these locations in the first place, and our main goal right now is to not have that divide between social and gameplay as much as we do in Stanton, but mix it up a little and make that dependent on the reputation that you have with the factions or the owners of these locations. And yeah, we're looking into more content. As you've seen listed there, there's a bunch of new stuff coming as well. With the later presentations, for example, with the logistics hubs in the second portion, we're also looking into rates. But yeah, that's it for me. I will pass it over to Eddie now. Hope you've enjoyed this. Take care. Bye.
Hi, everybody. So, I'm Eddie. I'm an assistant art director on Star Citizen for locations. Before we start, I'd like to mention that all of the footage we're about to see comes from our current stable builds. So all of that beautiful tech, all of those features that we've seen in the last 2 days is coming from our tech development builds. Now, all those features are going to make their way to you, of course, eventually. But that is the reason you're not going to see some of them in the builds today. I just wanted to get ahead of the comments a little bit there. So with that said,